Welcome back to another World of Warships Blitz video. This one in The Sims, and as you can probably tell from the title, this one is an opinion piece, and it's a little bit about capturing caps. So this is the Golden Channel map, which, to be fair, is probably one of my favourite maps when I'm out for a win, simply because you know, there's 1/7 of the team, at least in my team, that's pretty dedicated to getting into that cap and holding it. But what I do find is the losses that I do suffer in this are either because the enemy manages to get themselves together and push into the cap at the other side, or my team sort of runs around the map. But I try and minimise that sort of damage by, well, particularly if I'm in a destroyer, by getting in there early. So here we are in The Sims. Now, of course, getting into the centre with the destroyer is quite an effective way of holding the cap, because really, once you're in there, battleships really have to come to realise that if they are looking to get into the cap, that they are facing quite a challenging situation. Oh, there goes his torpedoes. Lovely. So we're going to try and chase this guy out of the cap as well. We've got a whole lot of torpedoes coming through. He's getting some hits, but we'll get some more hits on him. And as you can see with that, with these battleships here, we'll basically, well, if they try and enter the cap now, they'll be coming in piecemeal, and yeah, I try not to fire all my torpedoes in one direction. I don't want people to count. You know, firing them in separate directions means that each person will only see one set of torpedoes and won't know whether I've got another bank ready to go. Because essentially what I'm trying to do is basically make entering the cap into quite a hostile activity. The downside of this you can see on the score. Because essentially I'm not hunting enemy ships. I am in a defensive posture. This Benson's trying to enter the cap here. Here we go. Oh, enemy torpedo bombers. I'm not going to turn parallel. Oh, here we go. Look at this. It's Prince Eugen. But I think it's probably getting to the stage where maybe there needs to be some rule changes about point scoring in games with caps. And I don't know the answer. I think with the PC game, that has various scoring mechanisms for potential damage tanked and you know, spotting damage and things like that. And I wonder if it's possible to come up with a scheme where time spent defending the cap. So, for example, if you're in the cap and pinning it from the enemy taking it, that you gain points while you're in that position. So just being in the cap and cranking up the points would just turn it into a bit of a problem where you just basically have a massive ships in very short, violent games. But something that just encourages a little bit more activity inside the cap would be quite good. Although, to be fair, this Colorado here, it is a Colorado, is doing a good job of helping to tank the cap. We have another battleship down to the south who's holding the edge of that cap. And here, I'm at the far edge. You know, I probably won't go outside the cap unless the enemy's really down to their last dregs. But I'm down at the far end, basically making even approaching the cap a difficult proposition. So for you battleships that want to flank, just be aware that the cap, and I've said this before, the cap has no flanks. So I do think that it would be beneficial to have some of the scoring not just being capturing the caps. You know, maybe that's a little bit too simplistic, and maybe the time is right for the evolution of Warship Blitz into something a little bit more sophisticated. Oh, here we go, we've got a Shiratsuyu. So we're well ahead on points. I mean, even if this Shiratsuyu manages to sink this Enterprise, as long as we have a ship survive the match at this point, we'll win. And he didn't sink that Enterprise, which is a bit of a shame for him, because now he's out of torpedoes. We're firing up our smoke, he fires up his smoke, and well, basically a couple of sets of torpedoes, or one set of torpedoes. There we go, he's exited the smoke. Oh, he's trying to reverse. We let him have it. So basically just to keep him moving, don't want him getting back into the smoke. And yeah, whoops, he's misjudged that one, giving me most of my points for the match and the kill. But as you can see, it's a healthy win. So when there's a blitz on for wins and I'm on the golden channel, get straight into the cap. But I think, yeah, the time is right now for potentially a more sophisticated scoring model. I get that there's trophies and things like that. There's other incentives, but I think, yeah, it's not quite. I think there's enough Mickey Mouse running around the caps at these points that I think changing the incentives would probably make for tighter games and less random for those of us who basically have to spend their time holding the caps rather than hunting down points. Anyway, there's my opinion. You know, you can, yeah, well, take it or leave it. You know, I do think the game overall, the game's good, and I think that now is probably, it's just tweaks around the edges. You know, and some of those tweaks around the edges don't require a lot of development. They may require a little bit more analysis, but they can be developed over time. Even if they give visibility of people's performance in holding the cap would be, you know, just a bonus. Even if, yeah, held the cap against enemy capture for X period of time. Something like that. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. Bit of a random ramble. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.